Old School Open today. I forgot how long it was. I would suffice to say Kevin Murray's a little happier today than he was that day in the Cotton Bowl years ago when you intercepted him and took him back to the house with his son now, the talk of the NFL. You know you're the talk of the NFL when they take a long time observed term like Hail Mary and now make it a Hail Murray.
Yeah. Well, you knew that was coming, and those that might be surprised out there thought that Adam West and Burt Ward were going to host the podcast today.
Yes, with that intro music.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, but no, nor is Alfred.
Okay.
Nor Commissioner Gordon.
By the way, welcome to Indiana Week. You know it's 2020 when you say welcome to Indiana Week.
Welcome to Indiana. When it's a top 10 matchup of Ohio State and Indiana and it's not basketball.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is unbelievable. The Big Ten is a shambles. The Big Ten East is a shambles, which I'm sure we'll get to. But first, I'm just glad you're here.
Yeah.
Man, the wind yesterday, I was, obviously I came home from church and it was crazy windy. Then the Bengals played at 4:25 in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And about halfway through that game, it got, because obviously the system's moving east. And I thought, this is not good for my man. No. He's flying back from the Meadowlands. This is not going to be good.
It was a little bumpy on the way back. And I'm not a good flyer as is, and so I was just holding on. And of course, I appreciate the flight attendants on United and making sure that my mask did slip below my nose at one point in time, and I was corrected. And thank you very much. I understand we want to be safe. I just want to wear a T-shirt saying that I had COVID and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But you can't do that, so. I appreciate it. I thanked her, and I understand. But
I had a call from a friend of mine in Miami Beach yesterday, who's down there for a conference, and he called. He has a condition that he can't wear a mask, and he called ahead of time and asked the hotel, "Is it going to be a problem?" Nope, not going to be a problem. Don't worry about it. He and his wife got major hassled on Saturday night by multiple different. Every single time they had to tell the story. Yeah. So I said, "You got to go get a letter from the hotel telling you this, so you can just hand it," and which he finally did.
Yeah, I have a letter actually I traveled with from the United States government and from the Fox legal team, especially going into New Jersey or New York. I have to present that letter to people that are, if they're waiting outside the plane, that I am considered an essential worker as a first informer.
Yeah,
is what we're called. So, it's just part of the deal. It is what it is, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's there's inconveniences. You got to embrace the inconveniences of what's going on. But thankfully, we're still playing football.
Yeah,
and the NFL is doing what they can do and making all kinds of adjustments as they go. But they're still playing. And you mentioned Kyler Murray and the play that he made, and he's just an exciting player. And you understand why Steve Keim. I give Steve Keim all the credit in the world. For those of you who don't know, Steve Keim is the general manager of the Cardinals. Drafted Josh Rosen #1, didn't play him his first year, traded him to Miami, and went again and drafted the right guy. He got the right guy that fit the right coach.
To fit the coach. They made a coaching change to Cliff Kingsbury.
Right.
And that's
who Cliff wanted. And so Steve, not being an ego guy, works with his head coach and gets the guy that he wants. And right now the Cardinals are sitting at the top of the NFC West, which is not something we say quite often.
No, it isn't. Not since Kurt Warner.
Certainly the Nuke Hopkins trade has benefited the Cardinals, and they got him for basically nothing, giving away David Johnson. And David Johnson in his prime was really good, but David Johnson has hit the wall. So
that knee injury did him in.
It's but it's it's interesting year. The NFL is crazy. I saw Jacksonville almost beat Green Bay. Then we talk about personality in a team and being smart and how you build your team. I want you to give credit to the Cleveland Browns for understanding who they are, and understand where they play and how you have to build your team to play in the environment that they play in. You understand that, right? You got to build your team to be a tough, physical football team and run the ball. When you have
Tony Grossi made that point for years and years and years, that they needed to embrace the fact that they're in Northeast Ohio and they're going to have rain, snow, sleet, and grapple.
Yes, and they perform well. I mean, when you have both guys 38 carries for over 200 and whatever 33 yards or 35 yards or whatever it was, when you have two guys that are that capable, and how good is it to have, if you're a Browns fan, Nick Chubb back? I mean, he is just
he's a beast.
He's so good. And then you combine that with a fresh Kareem Hunt, and both guys had 19 carries apiece, and in a game like that where it's almost impossible to throw the ball with any consistency, you're able to do that and get the win in the defense. So I thought the defense, I watched part of the game last night on the airplane. I thought the defense was just running around and playing hard and making plays when they need to be made and keeping the Texans out of the end zone. And hard to do in the NFL.
Well, no, they were in the end zone once.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but one time,
right?
And you only need, you got to win those types of games, and they're built to win those types of games, and that's what you want to see. And this is a game where you say, like, it's Green Bay. There's one guy that can battle the elements and play through the elements, and that's Aaron Rodgers can play through the elements. But Baker Mayfield's not Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
So you build your team in a different way, and their offensive line is as good as there is when they're all healthy in the NFL. As far as run blocking goes, I think they are.
They got Wyatt Teller back, and he made a big difference.
He's so good, man. He's just nasty. But when you have Kareem and Chubb run as hard as they run, Bruce, it's just, you appreciate those guys, and you understand, like, in practice, why those guys should never, ever, ever be touched in practice. The shots that these guys take on Sundays, it's unbelievable, the toughness of these guys.
Well, now they get the squad you saw yesterday, that you saw lose yesterday. Philadelphia Eagles coming to Cleveland for a 1:00 game on Sunday. Give Browns fans a little scouting report on the Eagles, who are under 500 now, are they not?
3-5-1 and reeling. And the quarterback, Carson Wentz, of those of you that remember, before he hurt his knee, was having the MVP year in 2017. That's when Nick Foles took over, and Nick Foles took them to the Super Bowl, and they beat the Patriots in Super Bowl in Minneapolis. Big news out of Philadelphia this week, I was dealing with it all week, was that Brett Favre came out, and his, Doug Peterson was Brett Favre's backup in Green Bay. Brett Favre came out and said that the Eagles got rid of the wrong guy. They should have got rid of Carson Wentz and not Nick Foles. I disagree with that, but the Carson Wentz is really, really struggling. I think he's struggling with everything. He's struggling with confidence. He's struggling with accuracy. He's been sacked 35 times, which is most in the NFL. 28 of those 35 sacks, he's held the ball over 4 seconds. You want to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. A lot of it's on him. I think he tries to make too many plays. They got healthier. The problem, they got Lane Johnson back. They got Alshon Jeffrey back. Miles Sanders came back yesterday, but you can tell they were a little rusty, and the Giants put it to them. The Giants offensively dominated the football game. And, Daniel Jones, you can say what you want about Daniel Jones. When he doesn't turn the ball over, the Giants win. You know that Daniel Jones, when he ran a touchdown, or he ran for an 80-yard run against the Eagles, and he ran 22 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast for a quarterback. Pretty fast for anybody, really.
He had a couple touchdown runs yesterday. One was called back, but one was from like 35 or 40, and there's nobody catching the guy. And so, but the Eagles are struggling on.
So are they vindicated in picking him? Because, boy, they took a lot of heat for taking him number 5.
I think the jury's still out, because he's only beaten, he's only won 6 games in his 20-some starts. 4 of those are against the Washington football team. 1 against Tampa Bay, and his first one he ever started was a win against Tampa Bay. And of course, yesterday. Now they're an improving football team. So you look at the Giants, they're a team that's rising. They're 3-7, but they're still improving, as opposed to the Eagles, who are still in first place in the NFC East because the East is so dreadful.
Wow, it is dreadful.
But it's an opportunity for the Browns. Now, it's the NFL, and the Eagles have really good players, and the Eagles are still in first place, so they're still playing for something.
Well, I would say the Giants are vindicated on picking Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins, at least at this point in time. Dwayne Haskins is...
He's done. I think he's done.
Persona non grata in Washington. He's inactive every week.
Yeah, he's done in Washington. I mean, you don't have
once the coaches lose confidence in you, that's it.
When you're not even active, you're not even activated, and then you have Alex Smith coming back. Then Brandon Allen, is it Brandon Allen, I believe, or the one that Jabril Peppers actually hit him? I know his last name, Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen had that difficult injury, and when you look at Dwayne Haskins, he had his opportunity. I hope he gets another opportunity, and sometimes
he will. He's the top #1 pick. He will.
Some change of scenery. It's not going to be in Washington.
No,
I don't think Ron Rivera is a Dwayne Haskins fan. Ron Rivera said when I did the Cleveland-Washington game, Dwayne Haskins doesn't have a quick hook. Well, yes, he does. And Alex Smith had a career day yesterday against the Detroit Lions.
Okay, the Bengals were not competitive in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh has not lost a game yet. Ben Roethlisberger just rolled out of bed, and I mean, I'm being facetious.
No,
he didn't practice all week because he was on the COVID. Maybe he has COVID. Maybe he has it. He's been around somebody who had it. So he went through a walkthrough Saturday and went out there Sunday. I guess when you've done it 17 years, it's second nature.
Well, I think he's the MVP of the league right now. He or Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you can make an argument.
I wonder if anybody's ever been in the league 17 years before they were MVP.
I don't know.
I'm guessing no on that.
You can make a strong argument for it. I mean, Russell Wilson was the lead contender, but Russell, in their 3 losses, has 10 turnovers. 10 total turnovers. He had another 2 picks and a lost fumble yesterday. He had 4 last week in the loss against Buffalo. So that's 7 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And of course I love Russell Wilson. Everybody does, right? But that's just the way it is. And when you look at it's funny, Saturday morning, we were in our production meeting and we just sit around and BS football, which is awesome, right? And just talking. I said, if I were Pittsburgh, I'd tell Ben to stay home. We'll see you on Saturday, play on Sunday. Rest of the year.
Something might happen to him in practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Non-contact injury.
Yeah, exactly. Or keep him away from any COVID carriers. I'm being dead serious. I would really think about it.
They're good, man. That Spillane guy playing for Devin Bush. You mentioned him a week or so ago. Yeah. He's really good.
Yeah, they're a good team, and they do a great job. And Kevin Colbert does a great job of identifying who they are. And you've always talked about this, and you've always been so on top of this. The really good teams, whatever sport it is, right? I know who they are, and they draft who they are, right?
What they are, and they do a great job of 4th, 5th round. They draft a guy who isn't ready yet, but in 2 years, when that veteran, who in 2 years will be an aging, unaffordable veteran, still a good player, but just gonna have to pay him a little more than we're comfortable with. They move him out and they move that young guy in. And that young guy's ready then. Yeah. Steelers are really good at that.
And they hit a guy on like Chase Claypool. You hit on a guy like
hit on the 2nd round wide receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, James Washington. Man, they hit on
I saw Mike Tomlin interviewed yesterday by Jay Glazer on NFL on Fox, and Mike was saying, he's the old man of the group at 23. Wow. And, then you have Roethlisberger playing at the level that he's playing. I'm serious. I mean, I'm sure he's on some type of routine. The guy doesn't. It's just amazing how good.
He's on Spielman CBD, I
think. That's something.
Hemisphere coffee and Spielman CBD.
That's all you need.
That's right.
Isn't it amazing how good he is still at 17 years?
It is amazing.
The quarterbacks in this league and how long. And Tom Brady, I can't go without saying, like, run him out. They're ready to run him out of town. And he throws for 3 touchdowns, runs for 1. 346 yards, and they hammer the Panthers yesterday.
Yeah, that's Teddy Bridgewater, I hope he's not hurt because he's come back from a lot.
Why I have them next week, so
Who do you have? Panthers
and Lions next week. Then for Thanksgiving.
Your Lions tried to give away another big lead against a bad team.
59-yarder.
59-yarder on last play. Saved their bacon. That's
that might have been the end of Matt Patricia if they would have lost that one yesterday.
Yeah, well, there's the end of somebody up there, but it's not Matt Patricia. We'll get to that. Reminder, Hemisphere Coffee is the coffee you should start your day with and drink throughout the day. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters Coffee. Available to you at half off now. If you go to my radio station's website, 989theanswer.com, click on the More button, then you'll find a shopping link. Go and find a $30 gift card to Hemisphere. You pay only $15, but they're going fast. I think there's like less than 10 of them left. We started with 100, and understandably, they're going quickly because a friend of mine bought 10 of them.
Wow.
That's a real friend right there, but that's a real Hemisphere
for the cause.
He's buying it because he says it's a great deal. It is a great deal. It's great coffee sourced from around the world, and those growers then do great things in their local community. It's what Paul and Grace and Andy call BAM, business and ministry together. HemisphereCoffeeRoasters.com. If you don't want to go through the shopping link, you can still get 15% off as a Spielman Hooley listener by using the promo code We Tackle Life in all caps. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters Coffee. I was going to ask you when you came through the door today. You all right on that, or are you running out?
I'm doing okay right now.
Okay, very good. You've been doing a lot of traveling.
I just wanted, you talked about Bridgewater. I didn't know what knee it was, and it's opposite of the one that he hurt in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And it said it did not appear to be serious, but it did force him from the game. So hopefully he's okay. So I'll be all over that today since I have the Panthers, and they do a great job with their social media updating. So they give you all the information. And I always tell teams, I really appreciate that because then to me, I don't have to waste your time talking to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just find the information.
Yeah,
right.
And I ask one or two questions, and they appreciate that too.
Did Zach Taylor make a wrong decision in the Bengals' 36-10 loss to the Steelers to have Joe Burrow on the field on the final series because he came off limping? People are like, "What's he doing in there?"
I don't think so. I'd keep him in there.
Okay.
I mean, you can go either way on it, but you know.
You can get hurt. This is the thing. When a guy gets hurt on a last snap, people always say, "What's he doing in there?" Like Tua, was a big lead at halftime and stuff like that. But it isn't like there are some plays in a football game where you can't get hurt. You can always get hurt in a football game. Any snap.
Yeah.
Score does not heighten the likelihood of getting injured.
Yeah, I mean, I think you think about it. But I think for Joe, everything is still a learning experience, right? And that's how I would view it. If it were Roethlisberger, I wouldn't have him in there. If it was Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't have him in there, or somebody like that. But I think with Joe, everything is still a learning curve. And hey, look, the whole deal is it's football, and you can't coach or play being afraid that there's an injury that's going to happen or occur. You just can't operate that way. You can't operate a team or program like that or the mindset like that.
Bengals at Washington this week. That's a winnable game.
And that's what Washington's saying.
That's what Washington's saying.
It's the same thing.
What everybody's saying.
Yeah. And the Giants in the Bengals, which, like I said, fortunately for us, looking at our schedule coming out, Fox has done a great job of for Thanksgiving weekend keeping everybody regional because it's kind of looking where the assignments, besides Troy and Joe, everybody else is kind of where they live. And so I'm fortunate that the Bengals have a home game, so I'll have a home game
nice.
Basically on Thanksgiving weekend.
Speaking of Cincinnati, the Bearcats continue to just pound people into submission.
And getting better.
Whew, man, their defense is good. And their quarterback's playing better.
Yeah, he wasn't throwing the ball as well. And I actually didn't watch the game, but I did pull up the highlights on it just to see what's going on. And I'm looking at the next coach of Michigan with Luke Fickell.
So you say?
No, I don't know that.
So you say?
It was interesting. I had a conversation with.
I think that's a very hard job to turn down if you're Luke Fickell.
I don't think I had a interesting conversation with Coach Meyer. And, Coach Meyer just getting over COVID, by the way, doing well.
Kicked his butt just like it was a Michigan virus.
Yeah, now the coronavirus has Urban, so we're all safe. Urban will outcompete it.
Yes, he will. Relentlessly.
And just.
Oh, he just went ERO on it. He just went event response out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Like
that's
everything.
everything.
I want to get well. I will get well.
Yeah, and but it was just interesting talking to him, and I asked him about Luke, and I don't think he thinks that could happen.
I told you I talked to somebody very close to Luke who says no, won't happen because Luke doesn't want to smash his ties to the city of Columbus.
Well, I think it's not only the city of Columbus. We're talking about Luke, who I think he holds the record for the most starts ever.
He did when he left OSU. I don't know if he still does.
Well, because of all the playoff games and all that stuff. But I mean, he was just a 4-year warrior for Ohio State and
a legend at DeSales too. I mean,
state champion wrestling. People know the wrestling story where I thought I would challenge myself to see I can take this guy, and within 5 seconds I was tapping out. So with a rug burn on my face. I'll never forget.
I wish there were video of that.
No, and Luke, it was funny. I have a special experience with Luke Fickell, those that don't know, and I've kind of always admired him. When I hurt my neck, I came home because I had surgery, and I started rehab and was training over at Ohio State. And Luke was, I think, with the Saints. Bruce, you might recall this.
Sounds right.
Yep. The Saints, and he hurt his ACL. So it was just Coach Kennedy, Dave Kennedy, former great friend of mine and great strength coach, myself and Luke, and it was just us three because before the team got in, Coach K would work Luke and I out, and Luke and I worked out together, and I felt like I really got to know this young guy, and I'm obviously maybe 15 years older, whatever I am than Luke, but I always admired his work ethic and how tough he was. And when he got into coaching, I remember he went up to Akron with Lee Owens and called me to come talk to his defense lineman. So I always had this kind of cool relationship with him, and it's really frustrating what I've learned, and I don't know why I do this. Watching sports is so much easier when you're not emotionally involved.
Oh yeah, amen to that.
But why is that?
I don't know.
Why? I mean,
because we're powerless to do anything to change the result. I wrote a story about Bob Hoying today, watching his son Jacob play quarterback for Watterson and his daughter Ava play volleyball for Watterson. They went to the semifinals in the state. And Bob was telling the story that when he played at St. Henry, he played in a state basketball tournament. They won 2 state championships in basketball, 1 in football. And he said their state championship games were at St. John Arena. And his mom, Sue, he said, I don't think she saw a minute of any of the games. She was pacing the concourse.
Yeah.
Because as a parent, you and I have touched on this before, it's just a different, the exhilaration of the highs, in my opinion, do not cancel the disappointment of the lows. And the lows aren't always on the court as you're.
Well, you know what I talked to you about this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Mace had the ACL injury, and she's trying to come back, and COVID keeps sending her home, and it's just hard.
And so we'll see. Yeah. I mean, that's a long season. It's just part of life, though, and I think there is something to that ERO. I just call it, what's your response going to be? That's it. How are you going to respond? And, sometimes it's just, you just keep getting punched in the face, and you just got to keep swinging back. There's no other alternative. There's no other choice. And we get to the face segment, there's something I'll share is, you're not fighting these battles alone, even though sometimes you feel like you're alone, or, even obviously it's just sports and everything's temporary, and I get all that, right? But it doesn't make it any less challenging.
No, it's all a challenge.
But, when you go through certain things, whatever battles you've battled this whole year with work and, will you ever get a job again? Basically, and here you are.
How am I going to feed? How am I going to make the finances work?
Now you're hosting a drive time TV show in a pretty decent market in Columbus, Ohio, with a chance to build something. And so, for me to watch you and how your faith persevered, and I knew you were down, but you also always had this. I don't want to say it was a glow of, I'd say a hint of optimism that and trust that God's got it.
I just knew he was doing something.
Yeah.
I didn't know what, and I didn't know when.
Right. And I don't know for how long, but but that's the funny thing. And I just want to get into this real quick because I think it's important. That's the funny thing. And the thing that's most frustrating to me as a Christian and as a man. Like, I can look at you and say, I know God's going to take care of Bruce. I know something good's going to happen in Bruce's life. Or I know another opportunity is going to come Bruce Hooley's way. Now, if that were me, I don't have that same
optimism.
Is that I hope everybody else feels that, or I hope everybody else is that accurate. Like, it's almost, I have it, but I'm like, I trust it, but man, it's just not like when I look at you, I don't have any doubt. But if it were me, or it's been me in many situations, you're not hearing me. You're not watching me. You're not walking with me. Even though I'm praying and I'm looking at scripture. That's not all the time, but there's that hint of doubt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think maybe it could be because when you're in the midst of something like that, only you understand the level of concern you have personally for how you're going to get things, quote unquote, fixed, or how you're going to get things. Only you could understand what you were going through with Steph and your family.
Right.
Only you could feel what you felt about how your kids were going to come through that and what the future was going to be like. I had a cognitive awareness of it. I didn't feel it on the deep emotional level you did.
Right. You feel it's impossible for you.
You looked at my situation from the outside and you're like, yeah, I know he's got to find a way to pay the bills and stuff like that, but he will, but I'm living it.
But and
it's more real to me because it's like, is this going to happen?
Yeah, I know.
So I think that's because only that person going through it feels it. And I got a friend now grieving the loss of a daughter. Cognitively, I get it, but I can't really get it. It's just so hard. He loved her, and he and his wife just loved her so much. She struggled her whole entire life with serious health challenges, and always in the facility, not always, but a lot of time in facilities and operations and ongoing challenges and stuff like that. And she's gone, and they're struggling.
Yeah.
Mentally, I get it. Emotionally, I can't possibly get it like they do. So
that makes sense. Yeah. I wish, I don't know. And I do think with like 2020 and all that's going on, I think things are exasperated, and our downs are a little lower than they normally would be, right?
Yeah.
For me, it is
the unknown. Nobody likes the unknown.
No,
hate it. People
hate it more than anything.
In a much different way, but kind of sort of on only the sports realm side of it, the unknowns at Michigan are who the next coach will be. I don't think they can possibly continue with Jim Harbaugh, which prompts our first Facebook question of the day from Christopher. He says, I'd like Chris's opinion on how Michigan can right the ship.
All right, simple. Get a quarterback. That's the first. There's lots of things that need to go on. The biggest mystery in Michigan, the biggest mystery of Jim Harbaugh is why, and I talked to Urban about this, and this was mainly our conversation. I said, he was quick to point out, by the way, hey, Chris, you remember when you came and talked to me and the team about how great Harbaugh was going to be?
He thought so too. Don't let him kid you.
It was funny how Urban said, and I said, Coach, I just don't understand.
Yeah. Nobody
they
does.
Haven't had a Michigan quarterback. They haven't, and you had 3 1 year.
Yeah.
Where your third guy took you to a national championship. Yeah. I just don't get it. I'll never understand why they can't do that. And it just go to show you. Look at Indiana. You take Michael Penix, is it Michael Penix? Mm-hmm. You take that kid off that team. That's maybe a 500 football team. But with him, they're a legitimate threat against Ohio State. No, I'm not. Okay, whatever.
They're not. They're
all right.
They're a 21-point underdog.
How can you tell? I mean, how do you know what's going on in 2020?
Because I've watched Chris Olave,
Because
Justin Fields, and Garrett Wilson. That's how.
You also watched the defense that gave up 27 points to
Rutgers.
Give up
some points, like 45.
To Rutgers.
45, 48, 27. It's right on the 21-point line. The odds makers are rarely wrong. So I'm going to say like 48, 24.
They might have a difficult time stopping Ohio State.
Yeah, they might. They might.
Go, yeah,
but back to Christopher's question. Get a quarterback, but do you think, let's just tackle
their
piece by
defense
piece.
has been awful. They haven't
Their
been able
defense
to
is horrible. Wisconsin rushed for 341
and took the foot off the gas.
Well, Wisconsin had obviously two backs. Danny Davis, a wide receiver, and a fullback, all rushed for more yards than Michigan did as a team.
Yeah.
They can't run it, and they haven't been able to run it ever since he's been there, which astounds me because, as I've said many times, at Stanford, he just brought in extra linemen and just pounded people into submission. And I don't know, is that the Pac-12 being soft that worked there?
Well,
that it doesn't work here?
I think the other thing is, let's look at Ohio State if you compare Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State does a great job of just replacing talent with talent. Michigan had 2 years ago, was it 10 guys drafted?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
10. Okay,
yeah, 10 or 11.
But Ohio State does that every year.
Yes.
And they have NFL guys. We had a whole podcast when we first started doing this thing where we talked about recruiting and talent and being able to accrue the talent, and how Ohio State has NFL players that nobody's ever heard of yet, just waiting for their opportunities, right? We've talked about that for a long time. And Michigan doesn't seem to be able to do that on a consistent basis.
I guarantee you there are guys who are backups on the Ohio State offensive line who could go into Michigan right now and would start and would be guys that they rave about. I mean, they just aren't physical. They aren't special. They aren't special anywhere.
They look like a mediocre. Now they're a bad Big Ten.
If you took their uniforms off of them, they could be any number of 6-7 teams in the Big Ten. Yeah. They could be Purdue. They could be Northwestern. I say that Northwestern's undefeated.
Did we play Iowa this year?
No.
By the way, good.
They could be Iowa. They could be Indiana.
Good.
Yeah, Iowa's come back from an 0-2 start. Who did they pound?
Minnesota.
Minnesota's.
Well, the quarterback isn't playing at the level that he played at.
They're bad.
I want to read
that. Here's a question from Greg Karhoff.
This is interesting.
You think Michigan players have tuned out Jimmy because he can't relate to players and just seems out of tune with modern players?
I think that there might be something to that, Greg, only because I do think in the NFL at San Francisco, I don't know if it's true or not true, but I do remember hearing rumblings where, he'll wear on a team.
My NFL guy, I was texting him Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I texted you the same question. My NFL guy responded to me. You did not.
I'm sorry.
I'm at a meeting. I'm saying my NFL guy is busy. He's a big high-level executive.
He's
a TV guy. Too busy.
First of all, you out of everybody in this world ever should say anything to me.
I stepped right in this
about ever getting back to me, or if Chris, don't worry, I'll be there if I need you. Oh, really?
Anytime you need me, buddy. Yeah. Anytime. Except the most you ever need me. Then not so much.
So you seem to think, some reason, you seem to think that I forget things.
Go back and edit this part out. Okay. So I said, who hires him next year? Who hires Jim Harbaugh?
I don't know who hires him.
Who would want
him and Urban on the studio?
Him and Urban in the studio. Yeah, that would be great.
That would be great.
Who wants him to be their head coach next year?
I don't know. Nobody.
Does he have to become an assistant coach again? What does he do?
He collects his money.
He's at the end of his contract. I mean, he's made tons and tons of money. But I'm just trying to think, what does he do next year? Does he have... there's somebody who would hire him. Anybody in the MAC that had an opening would love to have him. Probably. But that's what I'm saying is there has to be a job that he would want First of all, I don't know how they separate from him and save face.
Yeah.
Can they fire him? Does he have it in himself? I don't mean this like he lacks humility. I mean, for him to resign would be giving up. I don't see him as a giver.
No, he's never given up. They got to fire him. Well, how many years does he have left on his deal?
This is it.
Then he's done.
Could they possibly? Could he fire the defensive staff and
maybe
position it that way?
I don't think defense is the only issue. Their offense isn't very good, and we just discussed the number one problem is the lack of quarterback.
You know what? I would be really interesting. It can't ever happen, but I wish I could get the Jim Harbaugh, who was the coach of the San Francisco 49ers and took them to the Super Bowl, to evaluate the Michigan offense that they're running now. Because I remember Jim Harbaugh, Harbaugh is quirky, and I think he says stuff that he knows he's kind of being a parody character of Bo Schembechler. He went to that introductory press conference at the Super Bowl, the week of the Super Bowl, and he was funny and goofy and classic Harbaugh, where he talked about Bo, and he said when he got the job at Stanford, Bo called him, and he said, Jim, are you going to have a tight end, Jim? You're going to have a tight end. Yeah, coach, we're going to have a tight end. It was all about how Bo wanted him to be physical and move people and all that kind of stuff. And now I look at Michigan's offense with Josh Gaddis, and they're doing what everybody else does. I get it. It's what everybody else does. But they don't have the ability to do what you have to be able to do in football, and that is move people on 3rd and 1 or stop people on 3rd and 1. They can't do either one. If you can't do that in football, you're going to be no better than average.
Yeah. And you remember, I mean, like he replaced Alex Smith with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And went to more of a little bit of offense that was suitable for Colin to run as opposed to what Alex was running.
Yeah. But he ran Alex some.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex made a big play in an NFC championship game, I think, on a bootleg.
Well, Alex also was at Utah, of course, played for Urban, where he was an excellent runner of the football, which Urban, his quarterbacks he considers them runners.
Okay, so let's cover a couple. We've always talked about the Luke Fickell, Matt Campbell decision. I think Matt Campbell's a perfect fit for Michigan. I'm not sure Luke could reconcile it in his mind to take it. But what about 3 existing Big Ten coaches? PJ Fleck I sort of dismissed because it's hard to hire a guy that has a bad year at Minnesota to come in and fix your. What about Pat Fitzgerald or Jeff Brom?
I just don't. I think Fitz ain't leaving Northwestern. Why is he?
He's had chances.
Yeah, why is he leave?
I'm not sure I'd be thrilled about that hire if I'm Michigan. Okay, What about 2 off the radar names? Bob Stoops, Chris Peterson.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know where they go. What if the Ravens?
They got to go to Campbell. Campbell is as much. I'm not sure Matt Campbell's a home run hire. Matt Campbell's he's a stand-up triple hire. Pretty good hire. I mean, I thought Harbaugh was a grand slam hire.
Yeah.
Urban was a grand slam hire for Ohio State. You just knew that was going to work. Paul Chryst, I thought, was a home run hire for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He fit. Mel Tucker, I think, is a pretty good hire for Michigan State.
I don't know. I mean, they can't score a touchdown.
He'll be able to recruit.
They just Rocky Lombardi.
You can get anybody.
Talk about not having a quarterback.
School. Yeah, I know, but you can get anybody into
that. Not anymore. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, they can. They do. So I just wondered about off the radar. There must be somebody in the NFL that I don't know about. What about your guy from San Francisco, Saleh?
Oh, he's not coming.
Is he a Michigan State guy?
Yeah, he's a Michigan State guy. He's in Dearborn, Michigan.
Well, there you go. Boom, 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 boom. Robert Saleh.
I don't think he's coming to college.
He's unproven.
I think he's looking as
NFL head coach.
Yeah, he's an NFL guy.
Yeah. Okay.
There's just there's.
I'm just trying to think of. There's always a guy you don't expect.
Hafley's the guy that probably would be the
super high.
Would be the guy that's flying kind of pretty high. I actually talked with Sean McDonough, who did a Notre Dame BC game. I said, and Sean's really honest, and like if I were hiring a coach, I'd actually bring Sean in as part of my interview team. Or okay, you too, but I don't know if you would answer my call to come in.
Sometimes you. That was so well done. That was so.
I got to
well
bring guys in that I can count.
You guys got guys to return your call.
So,
that's funny.
But I trust Sean's opinion because I worked with the guy and
he'd be good.
And so I said, well, what'd you think of Jeff Hafley? I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth before. He's just tremendous, you know. And Sean was going on. And for Sean doesn't throw around compliments very often, you know. And I should say that
Sean's connected in Boston.
He's connected everywhere in the coaching world and in the college football world. And look, Sean knows guys that he believes that would be good coaches. He just has that natural talent. Because he's been around it his whole life with his dad being Will McDonough. He just knows guys, and by a really smart guy, Sean is, and he was just raving about Jeff Hafley. So we'll see. I don't think. And Sean said he's not long for BC. That was Sean's words, and I think he talked to people in Boston, and you just said he's very connected in Boston. Sean lives in Boston part of the year and lives in Arizona the other part of the year. And the people in Boston College know that this is just, we got to enjoy.
Got a superstar, enjoy him while we have him. Yep, exactly right. Well, and with Martin Jarman leaving to go to UCLA, there's no reason why Jeff Hafley would not be approachable, at least for Michigan. There are things you can do at Michigan that I'm not sure you can do at BC.
Oh, yeah. Money's just way, way better.
Yes.
Everywhere, all around and within the program.
Yes. Okay. So Michigan, I don't even know who they play this week. I'll look it up, but they have quarterback uncertainty because the Joe Milton celebration is over after he threw like the second interception. I don't know how you don't see that linebacker, but that game was over when he threw that second interception, like early in the first quarter. So they bring in Cade McNamara, and he had a nice first series, but for what Josh Gaddis runs, I don't think Cade McNamara is the answer. He's not going to last very long. He looks like who was the kid? Tate Forcier. He looks like Tate Forcier back there. He's awfully small. That was the biggest halftime deficit in Michigan Stadium history. That was the worst loss at the Big House since 1935. And their 1-3 start is their worst since 1967. So
it's tough.
Definitely not playing with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. They have Rutgers.
Steak and milk. Steak and milk.
Steak and milk. They have Rutgers this week, and I will say, borrowing from my friend Chris Spielman, don't sleep on Rutgers. Don't sleep on Rutgers. On the road at Rutgers. That could happen.
How many games are there in the Big Ten this year?
No, it's supposed to be 8. We've absolved the Penn State and Indy Lions of They play Rutgers on the road, then they play Penn State at home, then they play Maryland at home, then at Ohio State. They might not win another game.
Get Rutgers here. Penn State will be a battle. Maryland will beat them. Ohio State will beat them. Yeah, they'll end up 3-.
I will make a bold prediction about the Ohio State game. It will not happen. COVID. Michigan will have COVID issues and will not play Ohio State.
Ohio State needs to play, don't they?
They can afford one more game. They play 6, they're okay.
Okay, that's the rule.
That's the rule. You got to play 6. Got to play 6 to be eligible for the Big Ten championship. Yeah. I think they'd get in the playoff at 5-0.
Yeah.
But I am predicting that Michigan will have COVID issues and will not play Ohio State.
We'll see.
Harbaugh will be going without a mask for like 2 weeks before that game, hoping to get COVID. All right.
This is Football Night in America,
King trying to break
served by Applebee's. Mike Tirico, Tony Dungy, Mike
Ford,
just the three of us here to wrap up Week 10 of Sunday night, I should say, of the NFL season.
There, just X them out. I was trying to read Peter King's Football Night in America column, but
we already covered. What do you have to say?
I don't know. I just like to check the headlines. Yeah. We already covered Kyler Murray. Reminder that open enrollment for health insurance ends December 15th. So don't put it off. I can't believe it's already like mid-November.
Yeah.
It creeps up on you. So don't be caught in the putting off of something that important. It's always good to take an inventory of what you have. Say, I don't feel like messing around on a website or calling somebody. You don't have to. You just go to auiinfo.com. Chrissy will know everything in your plan and everything in another plan that might fit you better with a lower copay or a different copay or different doctors or different hospitals or different benefits that fit where you are with your age right now. It is a free service, not just a free call, not just a free consultation. It's a free service because they're paid by the health insurance carriers. And if you're in business, as many are, realtors, caterers, plumbers, lawyers, lots of professions out there where you don't have any other employees, but you yourself are the business, you're able to get a business health insurance because, you're what's called a group of one. Chrissy told me about that. I'd never heard of it, but she has all the expertise. AUI is a small business themselves, so they have a heart for small business. I understand it's been a very difficult year for you as restaurateurs, in particular, bar owners, gym owners. Check with AUI to see what they can do for you in lining you up with better health insurance. More affordable, more comprehensive, will help you attract better employees. auiinfo.com, auiinfo.com. Free service again. They're paid by the carriers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So transitioning into the faith portion of the program, I wanted to share this with you.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hit on it a little bit earlier. In just this whole year, right? And the struggles and challenges that we all face and that our family members face. If it wasn't for the struggle, you wouldn't have the strength. God is always building you, even when it seems like he's breaking you. Boy, that is so hard to accept, but you have to accept it. And that's comes down to trust, right? And it comes down to, there's a song by Casting Crowns called Praise You in the Storm. I mean, or a song by Mercy Me called Bring the Rain. I mean, it's all about facing these challenges that can just keep adding up. And sometimes you feel like, when can I breathe again? When can I have something that's not a battle that I'm fighting? Now, there's different levels of battles, of course. I get it. But it's just, you got to be careful that you don't become consumed by these challenges and battles, and just understand that there are building blocks. There's a purpose for this, and you have to trust that. And sometimes that's very difficult to do, but you have to do it. And I got to keep reminding myself that, and I got to keep reminding myself as a leader of the family to pass that message on, especially when things aren't going well for one of the kids or myself or whatever. Just keep pushing forward.
Yeah, that's it's one of the grand mysteries of the Christian life, really of life, is why it seems sometimes so much is heaped on an individual or a family. In the course of my life, I've known several people that it just feels like adversity is continually visited upon them. Health challenges, monetary challenges, searing emotional loss. And I've asked God many times, like, give them a break, give them a break. Like, are they in a season of life where they're going to move past this? I would confess that I am extremely fortunate in that I've not had anything close to what you had to deal with for the better part of a decade. From the outside, I look at that and I think how unfair it is, how hard it is. But just because you've been very transparent with me and shared with me, I also know that amid that storm, you experienced some things on a deep level, connecting to God, connecting with Stephanie, connecting with your kids, that from the outside, we don't see, we don't appreciate, we don't understand, and I don't think ever can understand, that there sometimes is some, I don't know what the right word is, joy, fulfillment, peace amid that. So, you know, there's
it's exhausting at times.
It is. I know. I know it is. And the one word in the Christian life that means completely different from what it means in the common vernacular of our world is the word hope.
Mm-hmm.
In the common parlance of our language, hope is something you are wishing for.
Right.
In the Christian life, when we say we have the hope of heaven, it is an assurance. When we say we have the hope of salvation, it is an assurance. It's not something we're wishing for. It's a certainty. It's a promise. And God's promises never come back void. So it is a misnomer to anyone out there who's in a position of considering whether they want to give their life to Christ or not. This is why I'll just say it openly. Joel Osteen and his sort of preaching that you are destined for prosperity, destined for happiness.
In heaven you are.
Yeah, but in this life, he preaches it in this life.
Oh, I don't listen to him, so I
He's
don't know.
That's false. You're not promised any. Well, wait, no, you are promised things in this life. It is often stated in the New Testament that suffering is commendable and promised. And I'm not going to try to equate how that might manifest itself in this life. Chris, I would say what Chris, Steph, and his family went through is suffering.
Well, but so many other people.
Many other people too, yeah. There's my friends now who are grieving the loss of their daughter. That's suffering. My friend Anthony is dealing with like physical pain all the time. He's had surgeries, had procedures, doesn't go away. And there are times he's very broken by it. But he's inspiring me with how he handles it. So the hope we have as Christians is a future hope, an assurance. But I don't want anybody to commit their life to Christ and feel like,
okay, all these presents are coming my way.
Yeah, everything's going away now. Everything's easy. That's just not how it is. But in the midst of that, you say, well, why in the world?
I mean, there's good.
There's good times. Yeah. There's good
peace,
and there's a depth in a relationship. It's really hard to define because in 1 Corinthians it says when you accept Christ as your Savior, His Spirit indwells you. And often you'll hear people say, how many times have you heard people say, well, God never gives you anything more than you can handle? No, God does give you more than you can handle. Unless you are a Christian, and then He's equipped you with the Holy Spirit to handle it. I would argue that God gives a lot of people more than they can handle to drive them to Him, to realize that they can't make it on their own, within their own strength. And so He loves you that much that He's willing to keep spinning the treadmill of your life faster and faster and faster and faster until you realize, I can't do this on my own. Yeah. That certainly was true of my life. So that's where we are.
All right.
So that will do it for a Monday edition of the podcast. We will draw 4 names on, let's do it Wednesday. Okay?
Okay.
And I have no idea why this music is not playing. I recorded it last night. It's not playing, so that's how we go. So thank you for joining us. Spielman Hooley podcast at gmail.com to get your nominations in, and we will talk to you again on Wednesday.